Hello! Welcome to the Dad Report, a podcast for dads, by dads, about dad stuff.
Join us as we sit down and have meaningful conversations with friends, family, and coworkers.
We will talk about life, family, and so much more while working towards a goal of creating a healthy idea of what it means to be a dad.
Justin,
Chad.
how
We're
are you,
back.
Justin?
I think you put too many L's in there. I'm good. How are you, Chad Kirk?
It's good. I'm sure you'll fix it in post. Is that what they say?
Is
Fix
that
it
what
in
that
post.
is?
That sounds.
That is what the influencers,
sounds
I
official.
guess, say. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So, Justin, it's been a little bit since
The
we
sex
have
episode.
we have done this. Yes, which it seems people like that one more than maybe some of the other recent ones, which I'm very pleased to find out that people were into what it was we were talking, or at least they're captured by the title and they started listening.
I think that's probably more so it because nobody's leaving us responses. So, other than our boy Kevin, shout out to Kicks and Minivans.
Yes, so we'll have to figure out if people want like a part due.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
But that is not tonight.
No. So tonight I'm bringing another friend of mine on who I had the opportunity and the privilege to work briefly with as a contractor during my season at Gwinnett Church. He's a dad to two daughters, one of whom they adopted, which is super exciting. He has worked for really large companies and currently works for the Disney World of grocery stores, the Costco. I'm pleased to introduce Aaron Foster. Aaron, welcome to the Dad Report.
Hey, Aaron.
Guys. Great to be with you guys tonight. Looking
How are you
forward
doing?
to this. Doing very, very well. Very, very well. Very excited to be with you guys and talk parenting.
We're excited to hear what wisdom you have. You're further down. How about you give us a brief introduction into who you are, a little bit of your story, and then talk about your kids a little bit? Because you are more in Chad's realm, and you've got older kids, and I'm over here with a almost 2-year-old.
Yeah, so are you saying I'm old? Is that what you're saying?
I like to call it wisdom.
Okay.
I don't.
You
have
also like to
wisdom.
call it old.
It's my lack of wisdom.
Well, I am 51 years old, so I am a bit on the other side of the number there, going towards 100. But I'm kind of looking at things, from a second chapter of life as you're looking probably from the first chapter. But I do have two wonderful daughters, Hannah, who is 16, and Ellie, who is 20. Hannah is a sophomore in high school and driving out on the road. So beware out there if you guys are driving around and there's a blue CRV, like a 2003 tank suit CRV cruising around with tinted windows. Just turn off the road. Ellie is a junior at Kennesaw State University studying media and entertainment. And so I am currently working. I've worked for companies, small and large, primarily in the sales realm, and have over 25 years of sales experience, selling everything from leadership events to sponsorships to memberships for large retail stores, credit cards. I mean, you name it, I've pretty much sold it, and find a lot of joy in that. It's really nice to be able to do something where you can help somebody else with, providing a need for a service or providing, help for somebody, and not just selling them something, but actually, helping them out with something that they need or a product that serves them well. Um, so uh, I love to work out. I love to stay active. Bought a new mountain bike this summer, so I've already crashed and burned on it once, and tore up my knee and took a corner a little, too fast. Obviously, I'm not 25 anymore. I'm little wobbly on the mountain bike. It's kind of weird. It's like it's been a while since I've been on one of these. Um, so I love to stay active. I love to work out. I love to. I bought a paddle board also for the lake this summer. So looking forward to getting out on that and just staying active. It's a big part of something for me with regards to longevity in life and wanting to be there for my girls, when they get married and whenever they have kids, and being a granddad, and a big part of that is staying healthy and staying sharp-minded and taking care of the body and the mind. And so I really focus hard on that and trying to eat a healthy diet, take my vitamins and things like that. Just with them in mind. So
yeah, you were eating we grabbed Chick-fil-A last week, and I sat there and devoured a sandwich as one should, and you ate the Lord's holy rabbit food.
That's exactly right.
Literally just kale. Like that's all
That's
you
right.
ate. You ate
Kale
with me.
salad.
So,
Yep.
and then I did see on your stories today that you were on some kind of a balance object and like carrying or tossing a weight. So
Yes. Yeah. So I like to spend some time in the gym, and I can't get very motivated myself to drag my butt in there. So I have to hire a trainer to kick my butt, and she's doing a very good job. So I kind of, I went through some health issues back in 2018 and got, to where I just couldn't, a lot of chronic fatigue and stuff like that. And I just I could not manage to work out like I used to. And I'm finally now bouncing back and very encouraged by it, and able to do some stuff that I haven't been able to do in a long time. So I'm feeling good, feeling swimsuit ready, getting swimsuit ready for the summer here.
are you the July edition?
Yes. The calendar will be out soon.
Oh, man. You can find that at the link in our bio.
Not really.
No, we do not endorse.
So I got a couple kind of quick hit questions to get us into this. So you work for Costco. Any words of wisdom for the Costco members out there?
Don't come on the weekend.
No.
That's the truth. For sure. Wow.
Do not come on the weekend. And when it's there, buy it. Because it is very likely that if it's a hot item that everybody likes, it will not be there when you return the next weekend, and we will not be getting it back in. So
real quick, let me do a real quick thing for my household. Hey, Shauna. So when you listen to this, you heard the man. He works for Costco. He said, just buy the thing. Okay.
Oh man, that's great. No, Megan and I learned that with some Tommy Bahama chairs. We walked in there and they were like,
oh yeah,
$25 a piece, and we were like, and we still lived in Jacksonville at the time. We were like, we gotta get these. But she was pregnant too, and I think 8 months. So we got them, but I don't think we ever broke them in, because she was like, if I get in this, I don't know if I'm getting back out right now, not without giving birth. So we have them now. I think we'll eventually, when we start making beach trips with Amelia, we'll use them. But yeah, we've learned. I mean, I've definitely walked through a couple of times and seen the Costco items, and I'm like, oh, I want to spend. And I choose not to.
Yeah, those chairs, those are a steal. I don't know if they still have them, but we have a pair of them, and man, they're great.
They're awesome.
No, pretty sure they're gone. Good thing you guys grabbed them when you did.
That's good.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I've been in the corporate realm, selling stuff. Worked for a company called Giant Impact. At one point, I was in the mortgage industry whenever I lived in Portland, Oregon, and took a job here in Atlanta with a company called Giant Impact, and we produced two events. One for the faith-based community called Catalyst,
Oh yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
I headed up the West Coast event there and led the team on selling that event, which was a brand new event. Whenever I started, I lived in Portland, and they wanted to know, hey, do you want to come to Atlanta and live, or do you want to stay on West Coast time and sell there? And I said, I am coming to Atlanta. I cannot take the rain any longer in the
Mm.
Northwest. It's killing me.
Wow.
And sold that event for 3 years, and then switched over to what was called the Chick-fil-A Leader Cast, which was more geared towards the business community and corporate space, and took that event from, I think we had maybe 1,500, 2,000 to 9,000 in the Gwinnett Arena. It didn't hurt that Chick-fil-A was the sponsor and that we were able to
Yeah.
give out free Chick-fil-A sandwich cards.
Nice.
Everybody loves their Chick-fil-A here in Atlanta. So that
That
event sold
helps.
out. It wasn't because of good salesmanship. It was because of Chick-fil-A free sandwiches.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
great.
That's awesome. Talk to us about, so I'm assuming you probably were starting to have your daughters in that time frame. Can you give us a little bit of that timeline, like while you were with Giant Impact and therefore doing Chick-fil-A's Leader Cast Catalyst? I met you shortly after some of those kind of positions, so I know you have kids. I think my Megan was on a mission trip with one of them at one point, which I don't know if you knew that. She always reminds me when she sees your daughter. She's like, "Oh yeah, I was like in Costa Rica or something with one of them." So, talk to us like when you're running an event of a catalyst scale. And I know we got a few listeners who, because we are more faith based, run in some of the circles we run in. So like catalyst is a big deal, or I've had friends who tried to get me to go, and I just haven't been able to make it. But that's big scale. And then obviously Chick-fil-A's Leader Cast is big in the corporate world. I mean, Megan talks about it. Chick-fil-A is still holding conferences. You and I talked about that at lunch. So what was it like to run these kinds of events, to help spearhead, to build a team, to strategize, and then also trying to raise these two girls at the same time, like to be in the home and parenting?
Yeah, when we relocated here from Portland, uh, Ellie she was going into pre-K.
Okay.
So she was just getting into school, and Hannah was, I believe, like 4 or 5. So she was still fairly young. So those were some hands-on years. Like they say in parenting, it's when they're small and young like that, it's very hands-on, and then when they grow up, it's just a different type of stress that you have to deal with in parenting. And so we were very fortunate and made a very intentional decision to have Allison stay at home as a stay-at-home mom while um, while I was working. And we decided that from the very, very beginning, just because there's only one shot at that. Not
Mm-hmm.
I understand that not everybody can do that, but we were very committed to knowing that that was just a one-time season in life when they're that age that you never can get back again. And so we were willing to take some sacrifices financially to be able to do that, and do not regret it one bit. So we were fortunate, to have Allison at home, and then I could really focus on work. But um, it is stressful. The event business, and is a stressful industry to be in. Not only do you have all of the sales that you have to concentrate on, but you've also then got all the other logistical stuff behind the scenes, right, to pull off a successful event. So in that world, sales is working with marketing, so you're trying to hit numbers. So for me, during event season, which for us was pretty much year round. We sold year round on these because these events were so big. There was a lot of stress on me, a lot of stress, for me to produce and for me to hit numbers. And so obviously there were times when it's hard to check out from work, when you get home. And I heard somebody say one time, that the way that they mentally did that and it would really help them was when they would pull their car in the garage, there was like an imaginary tree right there by the door, and they would just kind of like stroke that tree and say all of the stresses from that day and from work, I'm letting go right here on this tree. And then they were much more released to go in and to be able to focus on their kids and their family. And that's always really just stuck with me. um, but that was something that I tried to practice. And I loved the times when they were young like that, and it goes by very, very quickly. But it was a challenge, as they were younger. And looking back in retrospect, to be quite honest with you, there were some things that I did really well as a parent in dealing with some of those stresses, and there were some things that I didn't necessarily handle in the best way, looking back in retrospect. But I think that that's something that probably every parent can relate to in
For
one way or
sure.
another.
Yeah.
But I always tried to really surround myself with good examples of guys who were being, good examples as parents. And um, you know take them as models and watch them very closely and take notes mentally of what they were doing well and how they led. And always really kind of to put my radar up, so to speak, to find those people, to watch those people. But as the girls got older, and I was at Giant Impact for 7 years total. So the girls, they grew up quite a bit through that time, as I transitioned out. And then I went to the John Maxwell Company, and I worked there on their event for 3 years. And it was a similar type of event on a smaller scale, but it was leadership based.
Hmm.
And John obviously was the keynote speaker, but he would always bring in other top-notch leadership gurus to the stage with him. And so that was a similar work environment for me, where there was stress, in the workplace, and just being able to manage that at home as well was something that I felt like, I think I got a little bit better over time, and a little bit more aware of. I think initially it was subconscious.
Mm.
You don't, like when I was at Giant and things like that. It's kind of like, oh man, bringing work home and I'm on edge and thinking about it a lot, not being able to concentrate on my family, but I'm thinking about work. It was kind of subconscious. But I think over time, I got to where that was more of an awareness piece for me, and that I could kind of like manage it better, being aware when I brought it to the awareness point.
So I have a question on those lines. So I remember when I was younger, um, really having trouble like coming home and like leaving work at work, and coming home. So I've heard a few different ways. Like you come home and it's like, it's not like you finish your job, but it's like you're on second shift, right? Um, I I also think of it where it's like, you take off the hat for work, whatever you do there, and then you come home and you're stepping into a different role. Um, but it's not like, you come home, just stick your feet up and that kind of thing. So how anything come to mind in terms of like how you were able to um kind of switch, right? Switch from kind of one mindset to the other. You come home and it's time, okay, now it's dad time, right? Because I know for a lot of people that's a difficult thing. And especially now, like there's a lot of people working from home, a lot more than there used to be. And so I can only imagine that's probably even more difficult. So any thoughts there in terms of how you might like at least kind of how you were able to make that work?
Yeah, I mean, the whole money tree example was one thing. I mean, I know it sounds simple, and kind of, you know,
That's a good one, yeah.
but I was one of those guys where I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to be intentional about a lot of things with my girls. And there's things that you learn as you get older in life about your upbringing, right? And the way
Mm,
you were raised. And a lot of times when you're in that upbringing and that's the backdrop, the only backdrop that that you're being raised in is what you're in. You don't know what you don't know, right? As a kid, as a teenager,
Yeah.
it's not until you sometimes go off to college that you really kind of start realizing some of the things. And then obviously when you get into adulthood, you're really starting to think about things and the way your parents did certain things, and you start thinking about how you're going to handle that with your kids. And so for me, I knew that I wanted to be very intentional with spending quality time with them. I mean, I have been dating, both of my daughters since they were, uh, you know, in pre-K. I mean,
it's
I
great.
would take Hannah out, or I would take Ellie out, even at a younger age. It was McDonald's. We go and I'd let her play
Yeah.
on the play structure, and then it turned into, when we moved here to Atlanta, we started a brand new tradition where we would go to the mall every Christmas, do our Christmas shopping. It started on a Christmas Eve, I believe, and we just stumbled across a photo booth in the mall, and we took fun pictures, and that started a tradition that is still going today, where we go do our Christmas shopping, do goofy photo shoots in the photo booth, and Ellie put them all up on our door in our room. I mean, 10 plus years.
Mm.
And she texted me. She's a junior in college, and she texted me and said, "Hey, Dad, we need to go ice skating this Christmas, and we need to go to the mall and take our pictures."
Yes.
That's
That's
So
awesome.
awesome. That's
I
great.
I asked her in the car driving home. I looked over her. I said, "So, are are we going to be doing this when you're, off in 28 years old, living on your own?" And she just looked over at me and smiled.
Aw.
And so, it's just fun things like that that I would never miss. That I was like, I'm gonna make that happen no matter what. And
Yeah.
but to answer your question, I think it was one of those things where I knew that I wanted to read to them. I knew that I kind of did have my second job when I went home, and it was to be a dad. And
Mm.
it was to be a dad that was being intentional. And it was a dad that was helping out, if I needed to help out with chores or help Allison out with something. Or I grew up, with three other siblings, and I was the experimental child. So I was the oldest of all of them. So I got real good when I was young at changing diapers and helping out. So it wasn't my first rodeo, when we had our kids. But yeah, there's just a lot of those things like that I feel really started at a young age, with both of my girls, um, being intentional like that have carried on as traditions. And um, being honest with them was something that was very, very important to me all the time. I've had to apologize multiple times, and I think that kids really respect that
Hmm.
in an adult when they can say, "I messed up, I was wrong, and I'm sorry for it." Um, I think that really goes a long ways and teaches them a lot about them just being able to do that and be comfortable doing that in the future, because that's not an easy thing to do, as an adult with your kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Justin, I think we've talked about this. Like one of the thing that gets me, but so I have two boys, and my 11 and 17 are their ages, and one of the things that gets me about them is that I feel like they are really quick to forgive, in some cases quicker than I am. And I think the only thing that we really intentionally did that may have helped with that is we're very honest in that same way, where we say, look, I was wrong. Sorry, you know, I spoke out in anger, or sorry, I was just wrong. I assumed such and such, or right, whatever that situation is. And I think they both just grew up knowing that, uh, hey, it doesn't matter if, I'm the parent. Like, if I did something wrong, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to ask for their forgiveness. And that just, I think, kind of became part of the culture. And I didn't know that one was going to lead to the other, but it was just like, if I want my kids to see me kind of, authentically living out my faith, and even I think broader than that, just like how we really want them to be, right? It kind of catches. Um, and so I'm really glad that, and it's cool to see that you had some of that too. I love to see that where like, hey, this is what's important to me, and you start walking it out, and it's there. And I think for people like Justin, and even people like
Yeah.
me that are kind of in the middle somewhere, um, and then to know that when you put in all this work early on, and then you get to the point where you have a kid off at college that they come back and they want to do the Christmas routine, or they want to do whatever that is. Like, I think that's what we're all going for. Like, I think we all want that, if we're honest. So that's really cool to hear some of those stories.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Aaron, what are some things that at a young age, and we heard some of it, right? Like the reading with them, the being open and honest. What are some of those same values and principles that you're still like with teenagers and ones in college? I don't know, that you're like, man, this thing is sticking around. Like, I'm gonna keep investing in this item or this principle. Um, and then why those things? Like, why did you choose some of those items?
Yeah, I mean, I would say honesty, number one, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Okay.
Because, with Hannah being 16 right now, and she is completely different than Ellie. I mean, she's 20 years old and she's never had a boyfriend.
Hmm.
I mean, she's just,
Wow.
it's just,
Good for
she's
her.
not, you're not
Yeah, it's awesome.
interested in it. Hannah, when she was 12, she was wanting a boyfriend. I mean, it's just, they're like completely different. And so now that Hannah is driving and has a boyfriend and is now, you know, going over to his house, he's coming over to our house, we're always very honest, and we
Mhm.
say, call or text when you get there.
Mhm.
Um, if anything happens, let us know. And Hannah does that. She's very good about that. And there's the rule where, like, if there's no parents there, there's no boyfriend that comes over, right?
Right.
There always has to be parents in the house to come over. Now, you guys can go to the room and leave the door open, but and all of that, I think, just trickles down from the very first early stages of building trust and the honesty piece. And we as parents were not the like flip out type of parents. We're kind of like the parents where when we sit at the dinner table and we have dinner, they're telling us everything and then a little bit too much more.
Welcome to middle school.
Wow. Nice.
But as parents, that feels good that the transparency is there and the authenticity and the realness can be there. And um, so I would say honesty has been one of those very early principles that uh, we instilled in them, and that above all, because that's such a huge part of your faith, and
Hmm.
making sure that um, those principles and those values that are taught, that they grew up learning in church and through scripture and through the Bible, are played out in life, and that we as parents were good examples of that for them. And um, so, the honesty thing goes both ways, where they can be honest with us, we can be honest with them. And just being yourself, I think, was a big thing that we've always stressed with them. That's very challenging in today's youth and in
Yeah.
high school. And
Don't get me
we
started on the
all,
rabbit trail.
I know, I know, I know. And it was much easier, to be quite honest with you, with Ellie, because she just wasn't into all that.
Yeah.
She was comfortable in her own skin. She had her insecurities, and we talked about those insecurities. I mean, it's hard these days. It was hard when I was growing up, but it's
Yeah.
really hard now with social media and all of that pressure that they're under, and all
Yeah.
the comparing that goes on.
Yeah.
But having those conversations and saying, it's okay, that you don't necessarily feel like you have to have all the latest Lululemon, gear. And it's okay, Hannah, if you don't, go spend $50 on a Lululemon sweatshirt just because it's Lululemon, and that, just all of that comparison that they run up against now in
Yeah.
school is pretty intense, and especially with that social media piece. So always kind of trying to encourage them that you don't have to give into that. You don't have to get sucked into that. It is, and we live in a pretty affluent area. And so, there's a lot of that, in the high school that the girls went to, that they were up against and saw.
Yeah. For sure.
Gosh, such a different world with raising boys versus raising girls. Like, and I'm learning a lot of this. I'm learning a lot of this now. A good buddy of mine has, like, he's got both, but he's got a couple teenage girls, and I was talking with them, and it's like, yeah, when they come home, like from youth group or whatever, they just want to talk and tell me everything that happened, and just all the details, like so many words, and I'm like, what? Like, my kids come home from wherever, it's like, so how was tonight? Good. Oh yeah, okay. Anything else? Oh yeah, it was fine. It's just like pulling teeth, just like dragging it out of them. So you learn, like, all these skills of, like, how to, ask open-ended questions, right? And all these things to get them to talk more, and and feel comfortable to kind of, express a little bit more. And then, and then people with daughters, they're having the opposite problems. Like, they just, it's like,
Oh,
once it's like the faucet,
chatterboxes
it just keeps
too.
coming.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm here like, man, what's that like? Oh man. So I have a question for you, Aaron, and this is kind of completely change of topic, but um uh as I was talking with Justin, I just felt like this is something I had to go to. So we're all dads, and Justin, this is coming. Even if you haven't had it yet, it's coming.
Is it the talk?
Well, this is a different kind of talk.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is the talk when Amelia comes to you and says, Daddy, I need a pet.
Oh.
And so, Aaron, what you shared with us,
Mm.
I saw that you said that you guys had a pet that we
Quite
have not
unique.
had, this particular animal. So you wanna maybe tell us about that, if you have any cool stories that.
Oh yes, it's this is the story that I tell as the icebreaker at any, like, any new party or anything like that. If you're going around doing, what's one unique thing about you, and
Yeah.
we told the girls for a long time that we weren't going to do the pet thing. and it was probably not until Ellie was in probably middle school, Hannah was in elementary school, and my wife had always wanted a miniature pet pig. And I just would give her such a hard time about that. I was like, there is no way we are ever getting a pig. And she was like, oh, but they're miniature. And then she'd show me pictures. And then she started brainwashing the girls about this.
Oh
She
man, that
played the
sounds familiar.
heartstrings. Woo.
Yeah. So I kind of, I was being the heavy on it and kind of being the bad guy. And I finally lost. When you're a dude in a household with three other women, you're really outnumbered.
Mm.
And so I was shown the website, and oh, they're so cute when they're little like that, aren't they? And they're in the little boxes and
Oh yeah.
little Christmas
Charlotte's
outfits.
Web over there.
Oh yeah. Well, so Ellie, my oldest, really got brainwashed, and she got to where she convinced me, and pretty much me, that she was going to raise the whole $500
Oh.
to purchase the pig herself. And she sure
Wow.
enough did. She did chores, she did work, she convinced grandparents, she took donations, everything
Okay.
was about the fundraising
Alright.
for the pig. And so this pig was exchanged from pig farmers in Tennessee, and my wife met them at the local Cracker Barrel to do the drop off of the pig. And so
Because if the sale goes wrong, there's bacon on the plate.
that's
Oh my
right,
goodness.
at Cracker Barrel.
That's great.
Man.
So this pig was by no means a micro pig. By the time everything was said and done, this pig got
Oh
quite large.
wow.
And there are some wonderful pictures of this pig. But we were pretty much known in Swanee as the pig people, and we had people asking us, "Don't you have to have like a license for that thing in city limits?" And I'm like, I don't know, but that pig, man, was like, oh, I've got some amazing pictures of my daughter, especially Hannah, the young one, just sleeping with that thing on a bing bag. I got pictures of me walking it around the neighborhood on a leash.
Oh my gosh.
It was just, at the time, it was like, this is kind of cool, but I didn't think anything
Novelty.
about walking it, but yeah. Everybody that drove by and honked seemed to get a big kick out of it when I was walking it around the block.
So when you say pig,
Yes.
is this like a guinea pig or what are we talking about here?
No,
He
it's
means bacon.
it's a bacon pig. It's
No
It's-
way.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yes. It was a real pig.
Wow, that's great.
So that was quite the experience. We
So
had,
how large did the pig get?
Yeah, this pig got, I would say, probably up to around 300, 350 maybe. It was,
I'm good. No.
yeah, it was a big boy. And we would joke about that. I was like, I'd give my wife such a hard time. Okay, what happened to the micro here?
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man, I'd be making too many food jokes. Like, hey, Christmas this year, dinner could be
Oh.
free.
We got them, dude. We got so
Oh,
many
that's great.
bacon jokes, so many food jokes. It was awesome. But
Man.
now we've turned into normal people, and we have a dog.
So what happened to the pig?
That's kind of a rough one.
Oh,
I was not a good parent in this situation. we were not good parents to this pig. We had gone up to Tennessee for Christmas And I mean, we're used to this pig is used to being inside. This pig is used to
Mhm.
laying by a heater, you know, a little floor heater. I mean,
Oh.
it was just spoiled rotten. And
Yeah. Wow.
we had a dog house for the pig, but we didn't put down, I guess, enough like hay and stuff like that. And it was the coldest couple of
Oh.
nights
Oh
in
no.
Mm,
Atlanta history when we were gone.
Ooh.
Still breaks my heart, man. Makes me feel bad.
Mm.
But that poor pig caught pneumonia, and
Oh.
so
wow.
it was quite an abrupt ending, and a sad
Mm.
ending to some fun, 5 or 6 years. But
Wow.
we
He
like
spent
we
5 or 6 years with you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He moved a lot of furniture. He loved to move furniture, and
Oh wow.
yeah,
I mean,
like
300 pounds can move a lot.
I'm
dining
sure.
dining room chairs. He would constantly move those around on the tile. It was as annoying as hell. I mean, it just was like, please stop moving these chairs.
That's great.
But
Oh
yeah, so
man.
we moved on to dog and a cat, and we're back to being a normal American family.
So
Just
would you
regular
ever do
family.
pig again?
Absolutely not.
All right, Shauna, you hear that one.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow. Oh my
That's
goodness.
insane.
So it like and like you said, this was like, a like an urbanized pig, like you said, inside, laying next to the
Urbanized.
heater, moving furniture. Uh that is the craziest thing. See, I figured you had one of these like little teacup, guinea pig, something like that. So I had a neighbor that had a guinea pig, and that thing didn't last either. But
Mm.
um
They
uh
don't.
um but yeah, that's so full on. Is this like pot-bellied pig? You said like 300 pounds?
Yeah, 250, 300. It
Wow.
wasn't
That's
like you had
crazy.
to take them to the vet though. I mean, they were pretty self-sustaining. I mean, you
Okay.
Okay.
you
I
didn't
was gonna
have to.
ask that.
Yeah, I mean, no shots, no nothing. I mean, you just
Good.
feed them, and they're easy. So I'm kind of really throwing that number. I think that's a pretty close number, but it wasn't like we took him to the vet and put him on the scale.
Right. But it also wasn't
Sure.
like you were
Okay.
picking him up and carrying him around the house.
No negative Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
went where he wanted to go, I guess,
That's
right?
right. What
Wow.
was his? I can't believe we're having a pig conversation right now, but I'm so curious. What was his diet like? Was it just scraps? Were you
Yes, yeah.
specifically
We need to
buying
know this.
like corn husk, and then
No,
yeah, how did the city or even animal control not get involved on a farm animal living
This is the
in your?
craziest thing.
well, I'm really actually surprised that we didn't get turned in, to be quite honest with you, as big as he got. But I think everybody found it kind of comical in the neighborhood.
Right.
And you just kind of go to the feed store, and they have pig food that you buy.
Oh,
And yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it wasn't like we didn't give him scraps. I mean, we were trying to keep this thing, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. For the kids.
well, we were trying to keep it like under 500 pounds. So you start feeding the thing scraps, and next thing you know, the thing's 600 pounds, and that was the last thing we wanted. So we were like trying to monitor his diet, but he just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I think we were bait and switch, to be honest with you. I don't think this thing was ever a micro pig.
Yeah.
So you
That's
keep
funny.
saying but I think the theme here is we don't know. Like this is so fascinating.
We
This is
really
great.
don't.
I love it. I almost didn't ask the question, and I'm glad I did because this thing has just paid off. It's been great. Wow.
It's so good. So I know
Oh,
there's this stereotype like pigs rolling in mud and like they're dirty, filthy. So the urbanized pig, I mean, are they actually like really clean? Are they soft? Like go into
That's
that a little bit.
that's a
Yeah.
myth, dude. That's a myth. I mean, this pig was extremely clean and never smelt.
Oh.
Never had any type of smell ever.
Hmm.
And
wow.
that's one of the things that is very a misnomer, is that they're just filthy, dirty animals. I mean, I think if you get into the ones that are really big, that are
Yeah.
being you know bred for bacon.
Amen.
They're wallowing around out there, and certain types do, but just to cool off, But I mean, he
Yeah.
was in an air conditioned house and laying by the fireplace during the winter and a floor heater. So he had a good life. And then we went and like did something really stupid and killed the poor thing.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
I still can't get over that y'all had a pig for like 7 years.
I know.
Oh,
But the
that's
girls, I
cool.
mean, they've got some amazing memories.
Oh, they'll never. Yeah,
That
that's
they always have a story to tell, at an icebreaker party.
absolutely, or any kind of date. That's great.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So let me just tell y'all, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because that way I could tell my family, like, see what happens? You see what happens? But here's the thing, like, I get hit up all the time. So I have two dogs. We had this little tiny rabbit that did not do well with us. It died, unfortunately. Um Early. But so I have two dogs. I'm always hit up on for dogs, cats, despite the fact that me and both of my children are allergic to cats. They all
Oh,
want
yeah.
cats.
I forgot about
And
that.
and then there's, they want rabbits, they want cats, they want anything. Um Pigs, of course. And so when I saw what you had sent over, and I told my wife, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy has had a pet pig. And I was like, okay, he's gonna tell us some horror stories. But I think what you said is gonna make them want it even
Oh yeah.
more. I probably dug that
Jude's
hole
gonna
even
hear that, and
further.
it's yeah.
It's
Because Jude was
it's
willing to
There we
over.
kill.
go.
Jude was willing to kill himself petting Orion. So because we have cats, and Jude kept. I just remember him, Mom, can I
Oh
go
yeah,
pet
yeah,
him?
man.
His eyes start getting puffy, and
And they're great with animals. Both of them are
yeah.
very patient, and animals love them, and all that. And so that just makes it even all the more hard. And I'm like, y'all, I am swimming in dog hair over here. Can we just like maybe keep
Let's
it to
invest in a
two?
pet vacuum. One of those little robot ones that roams around.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's our next step. But
that's what we
wow,
have.
that's great. That's so
That's
fascinating.
awesome. That's awesome. So, Aaron, we're gonna start wrapping up because it's late here, and I'm sure there's more to uncover. So we'll definitely have to get you back on the show. But as we start wrapping this thing up, talk to us about your dad's impact on you, whether it's your faith or even your parenting, like how you've been
Yeah.
a dad, how you view fatherhood. Kind of talk to that for us.
Yeah. I learned a lot more about my dad later on in life. And we've had as adults, some real heart to hearts. Um, and, I'm so grateful for that because I wouldn't say that I had just being completely transparent. I mean, I've struggled with some dad issues over my life time. And, fortunately, he has the kindest heart of a man that I ever know. I mean, he's just a super kind, loving person. But I think where going back to the point of managing stress and raising a
Mm-hmm.
family, I did not get a good example there.
Hmm.
And that's why I wanted to be very intentional. Not that I was always perfect, but that I always had that in the back of my mind, right? That, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see much of my dad. My dad was working a lot. I wish there were times when he would have come out and thrown the ball with me, but he was doing this or doing that. So, um, but as we've gotten to be adults, we've just, he's apologized for a lot of that, and he says, if I could have taken back those years, I would have. But there's those things that just get passed down generationally, and
Yeah.
hearing his side of the story and the way that his dad wasn't a real big part of his life. He was there, he was present, but wasn't necessarily that engaged, right? as a dad and actively being intentional. And it goes back to my granddad's dad, and so, that was made a lot of sense to me. And it made me come to a point where I shed a lot of grace on my dad.
Mm.
But it took a lot of years um, to get to that point. Just being quite honest and transparent. And I think there's a lot of people that are in the same boat
For
as
sure.
parents. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. I don't think enough people understand it. I think that's why there's probably still such a big issue. I recently read a book that it doesn't start with you, which really helped me understand a lot about generationally passed down
Mm-hmm.
stuff, even through genetics, and even in the womb, even as early as that. Um, and it's just fascinating to study the science behind it, and the um, psychology behind it. But my dad, he um, he was a great he was a great um, person who was always leading with his faith, and faith was a huge part of his upbringing, and it was something that was instilled in our family. So I'm very grateful for that. And we have a great relationship now. I think we probably either text or talk every other day. I just texted him just before this thing, and I said, "Hey, had you heard that Charles Stanley had passed away this morning?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he hadn't have heard that. And so it's just one of those things where I've grown, he's grown, and we're just in a really healthy spot. And I'm glad that that's the case, because I do see this, as my second season in life, my second chapter, and he's getting older, and I just don't want to, I don't want to go out with having stuff that's not mended,
Yeah.
mended things. And so I'm very grateful for that. But it taught me a lot about what I wanted to be as a parent, and not be.
Yeah. Thanks for
sure.
sharing that. That's good.
Yeah, one of the things we talk a lot about on here is and you spoke to this a little bit, the generational curses, the things that get passed down. And then one of the things that we try to bring into this a lot, one of the things that the pastor at the church Chad attends, and Megan and I attended while we were there, and Aaron, I shared him with you after lunch. I think I sent him one of the podcasts. One of the things he talks about is changing that narrative. And yes, generational curses are real, but we can also begin generational blessings and beginning those positive changes. I think it's great that knowledge is half the battle, and you and your dad are working through some of those things, acknowledging those things, and then in these chapters and seasons of where you guys are at, you're able to even now start putting a pin in generational curses and go, from this point, let's work on the blessings of what your kids, his grandkids can then start carrying into their future families. So that's
Yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah. I love that.
That's awesome. But
So I've got one quick story, and then Justin, if you like, after that we can wrap up.
sounds good.
And Aaron, we'll let you kind of lead us out if there's anything else you want to share. But so I was watching this, believe it or not, Australian cooking show the other day, and
Okay.
the chef is on there making this like meringue, right? Y'all know meringue, right? Like the fluffy whatever. And like these people, live audience, these people in the audience just start applauding, and I'm like, what? This is weird, because I always thought that Australians boomerangs.
Uh,
Boomerangs. Sorry.
oh, it's a dad joke, and that took me too long for it to come back around.
Leave that silence in there.
Oh, I'm totally leaving that silence.
That's classic, the silence.
Oh my gosh. I sat there, I was like, what is chat? Did Zoom freeze? Like
Which, and actually, that happened to me a couple times tonight. But
I
no,
noticed somebody's Zoom kept freezing or
that was
glitching, so
me.
hopefully the recording is okay. But that's so dumb.
Sorry. So with that, Aaron, I don't know if there's anything else you would like to leave us with, anything that you'd like to share with dads out there, or maybe
Yeah.
people with dads having issues with dads, whatever the case may be. Anything else you want to kind of leave us with?
Yeah, I mean, I would just, well, first of all, thanks for having me guys tonight, and thanks for what you
Absolutely.
guys are doing with this podcast. This is great. Yeah, I would say, as hard as it is to be a dad, and then sometimes go through the process of not having the healthiest relationship with your dad,
Mm-hmm.
to it's not until it really you kind of work on some things yourself, to bring that to the consciousness of your mind of kind of like what's really going on with that relationship, and where the misfires are. That's what it took for me, was to really kind of stop blaming and start doing some introspection on myself. And
Mm,
once you start doing that, then you can start forgiving the other person, and then that's what opens up the conversations to be real, and then that gives the other person the opportunity to ask for your forgiveness, and then healing can really begin. So I would just encourage that to the dads that are out there that might be in the same boat that I was, is to really um, stop pointing the finger, because it is very easy to play the victim game,
Yeah.
and just really kind of start looking to yourself. And for me, I played the victim card way too long, and it
Mm.
did nothing but hurt myself instead of heal the relationship with my dad. So that would be my encouragement to those out there that might be struggling with their father son relationship.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good.
that's good. I wish I would have heard that about 10 years ago.
I think most of us do.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's a
man.
that's a good piece of advice there for sure.
Hopefully this catches a few young bucks. Well, Aaron,
Yeah.
dude, thanks for coming on. Thanks for staying up a little bit later with us to record. I know there's more in your story that we didn't even cover tonight. So hopefully down the line here we can get you back on and talk through some of those things, like the crazy medical history you've had in like the last 4 years. If we were to start getting into that, we'd be here till 1 a.m. So I'm gonna honor our time and not open up that can, but I'd love to definitely talk through some of your journey and how that's impacted different things and has even led you to the road to health that you're on now. But
Yeah.
dude, thanks for sharing about the nuggets of information. Thanks for sharing about the bacon. Um,
Good old Hamilton.
I'm not. Oh, that would be his name. That's great. So, but with that, man, dude, thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. You guys have been great. This has been a lot of fun. And again, thanks so much for what you guys are doing with this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, Chad, you got any final words of wisdom?
Nope, I think I already shared mine.
All right. This dad report is closed.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can support us by sharing the show with your friends and family. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review.
Want more of the Dad Report? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and even join the community over on Discord. Don't forget to send us your dad jokes for a chance to be featured on the show.
Remember the words of Billy Graham about fatherhood. A good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets in our society.
So if you are a dad, we're cheering you on. If you have a dad, be kind to him. And if you know a dad, tell him about our podcast.